right, intro out of the way. Welcome to Bytes and Beats episode 2. All right, we're still working on a few things for those who have been supporting from the first episode. First of all, big up you. All right, we've gone about 100, or well, we're probably not reach 100 yet. But in terms of our first episode on YouTube specifically, it's got about 70 to 80 views already. We give thanks for that. Thanks for everybody who has subscribed already. All right, and just to inform you, the TikTok is there. The Twitter is there. They should be on screen now if you're watching on YouTube. But the TikTok is there and the Twitter page is there, as well as of course the link tree, which of course gives you access to the various platforms quite easily. So for TikTok, for those who are listening, it is Bytes and Beats Podcast, just the same as the YouTube, but on Twitter, because of how long the name is, I had to use one Bytes and Beats. So the number one, Bytes and Beats. All right. So that's if you want to stay in the know of when the episodes drop. Of course, if you're on YouTube, you can subscribe as well. We confirmed that the Spotify and the Apple is up. All right, Apple Podcast correction is up. All right, and so if you listen on those platforms, go ahead and continue doing that. We appreciate you for that. Also, if you can, just get subscribed, leave a comment, leave a like, rate the podcast if you find at least, especially the first episode. I mean, rightfully so. We're going to get into more stuff as the episodes progress. But from now, definitely we're looking to get as much support as we can. All right. And so, yeah, like, subscribe, leave a comment, get engaged with the audience. Even better, share it with somebody who you think the information would be really helpful to. Yeah? Sounds good? All right. So, for this episode, as I said last week, we're actually going to get into a bit of tech, and what a way to actually more or less end the month of October than talking about TechTober. So for those who don't know, TechTober, especially by Urban Dictionary's meaning, which of course I really like, is TechTober is the only month where, as they call us, geeks and nerds, those persons who are enthusiasts more specifically, which of course I prefer that term over geek and nerd any day, are able to geek out about tech. All right. And in the month of October, just like any other Techtober, all right, there are a lot of releases that commonly happen during that time, or at least some announcements. All right. Let's talk about a few releases first, and then of course we'll talk about a few announcements that of course are quite interesting. We're just going to delve into them just a little bit. To start off our releases for this month, we're going to talk about the Air 3S from DJI. Now, for anybody doing professional drone work, the Air 3S is really going to up their game because, for one, it now shoots at 4K 60 FPS, all right, which of course is really important. But if you also want to go slow-mo, you can get 4K 120 FPS. All right, so that's something definitely you want to bear in mind, especially for certain events like Suns, or even if we're talking international, we can think about a Tomorrowland type of event. The magnitude of those events, of course, would require some fun clips like that. Yeah. Importantly, as well, however, it has a 45-minute flight time, all right, and can go up to 20 kilometers with OcuSync 4. Now, OcuSync is the way that the drone communicates with the remote that is used to pilot it. And of course, they've reached version 4 now with this new Air 3S. I think they said the first version was released in about 2020. All right, so they've really made some progress in terms of making the software a lot more usable since then. Additionally, and most importantly, however, to give you that 4K 60 and that 4K 120, you have a 48 megapixel camera as well as a 50 megapixel camera. One of them is a wide angle, one of them is a telephoto. And of course, you have to bear in mind that we're just delving over the details, or going over the details in minor information, right? Just to give you some more direct specs in terms of some things that would be commonly looked for initially when looking to get any of these techs, by the way, just so you make that clear. Because for one, if I was supposed to go through the entire spec list, it would be too much. All right, we would actually do a whole episode on the spec list, explaining everything and making sure that everybody's aware as to what the tech is about. But that is it for the A3S. All right, if you want, you can go ahead and go to their website, dji.com. All right, look for the A3S and look at the specs list and see if definitely it is something right for you. Now, as I said, the Air 3S is more directed at prosumers or professional consumers. The average consumer would probably want to get one for the sake of having one, depending on the type of work that they plan to do. All right, even if they're just starting out, it's a good thing to have in terms of being as professional as you can, but it's not necessarily something that, as I'm saying, the average consumer would just get up and buy. Yeah, that's about that. But in terms of something the average consumer may get up and buy, the Amazon Fire HD 8 12th generation was released on the 2nd of October, and it sports two versions. One has a 3 gig RAM, 32 gigabyte storage space, right? Or you have the other option of 4 gig RAM and a 64 gigabyte storage space. Now, you're probably wondering why is it that I'm mentioning a Fire tablet. Now, the thing about it is that everybody likes the Apple stuff, which of course we're going to talk about a little bit later. But everybody seems to like the Apple stuff and the Samsung stuff. But in my belief, all right, you have some tech out there that, as much as they seem underrated, they're really good tech to have, even just as a basic item for everyday use. All right, and of course, rightfully, we're not looking to break the bank every time we purchase new tech. All right, so 4 gig, 64 gig storage sounds like a good option to me. It also has a USB-C port that can also do audio, because some USB-C ports actually either transmit power or just allow you to connect to a storage device depending on the type of device you're using. But in this case, this USB-C does audio as well as it does the power. All right, and even better, it still boasts one of the oldest technologies that I still believe should be in every piece of equipment, which is a 3.5 millimeter jack. The headphone jack, that kind of thing. All right, so you can have those luxuries, so to speak. Additionally, rightfully, it has Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, but those are things that you have to take as more of a typically mandatory type of configuration in newer technology. All right, even the laptops coming out, definitely, if they don't have Bluetooth, then it might be problematic for you, because the thing about it as well is that they may come with a 3.5, but the 3.5 rightfully would be a combo jack, and that means that you definitely have to get headphones with a mic to use it, or if you had your Bluetooth headphones and you connect by a Bluetooth, you're better off that way as well. Yeah. Interestingly enough, however, this is the first Fire tablet that has a 16-core or hexa-core, as they call it, processor. All right, which of course means that you can get more done on it in terms of processing. Yeah, that for me rightfully sets it in a good position for, just as I said, the everyday person wanting something to use for simple tasks, watching a movie, browsing the internet, that kind of thing. Especially if you get the 4 gig version. Now, at you, 4 gig is still a small amount, but for tablets, I believe it's at least a comfortable bare minimum. All right, if it was a desktop now or a laptop computer, I'm saying 16 gig, and we can get into that another time. But for now, we're just looking at what came out in TechTober, and looking at a few other little things as well. Another item that came out in October for me is the Insta360 Ace. Of course, the company being Insta360, the Ace 2 Pro specifically. All right, now the bossy thing about this action camera, because that's what it is that it's now more rugged and can actually go further, the deepest depth of 39 feet, and still be waterproof in that regard. They still have flow state stabilization, which means that you're not going to get the up and down jitters kind of thing. Right? It's going to look stabilized and very smooth, so it will look like you're actually just following along in a smooth line. But most importantly, that I've liked from this company in terms of the features that their cameras have, they still have the 360 horizon lock. What that does for you is that, let's say you're looking at the video now, all right? If I'm supposed to spin the camera, you wouldn't know that I have spun the camera, because the horizon lock would have locked it would have caused the camera to lock that thing in place. So no matter how much I adjust my camera, the horizon line stays the same way. Nothing shifts. Cool? So, aside from that, interestingly enough, they now have gesture and voice control. They also have a mode called dash cam mode, especially now that we're having a lot of problem with taxis and other various cars having incidents on the road. This is a good feature if you want something that you can just set up and take out when you're ready. All right. And of course, if you need to justify something with the police, you can always just take it down, set it, show them, that kind of thing. All right, important these days to have a dash cam in your car, and if you have two of them, back and front, then that's even better. Additionally, and most interestingly, but not surprising, it also has AI editing, and you can do it straight from the device. But what it does is that it takes or creates highlight features. Right. So I'm not exactly sure in its entirety how that works just yet. All right, because as I said, we're looking at this in quite minor details, but of course, there are many videos that are out now explaining how each portion of the technology works. All right, but it's saying that, of course, it edits straight from the device using highlight features. The good thing when I'm thinking about it, though, in terms of if a regular consumer or a regular influencer or content creator has this, that means that they can more than likely, or potentially, sorry, utilize just specific parts of a clip and edit it together. So that, of course, for one, it saves you space on the device or the memory storage that can be utilized with it. And two, you get something easily usable to upload to your socials, which of course everybody's doing that kind of thing these days. Cool. Another important feature is free frame video. Right now, for the professionals who are aware of the Lumix, I'm not going to try and guess the model number, but we know it's Lumix I'm talking about when I state the type of feature that the free frame video is. So, as I said, free frame video, this allows you to shoot with the freedom of exporting to any aspect ratio, which means that, for one, let us say I shoot this video. All right, I can only get it in one frame because, of course, this would be for from the camera that I'm using, T5i Canon. And the thing about it is that if I'm supposed to edit for social media, for YouTube, and for any other platform, I would have to really put some editing down to work within the limitations of each. However, with free frame videoing, that means that everything is already more or less set in camera beforehand, so that when you get it into your editing software of choice, right, it's a lot easier to do that kind of thing. Right? I don't know how it happened that they got it to do it, but trust me, professionals will truly be thankful for that kind of functionality. Now, in terms of announcements, yeah, there's one big announcement that, of course, everybody was expecting in TechTober, and that, of course, comes from the one and only Apple. Now, Apple decided that, for one, they're going to drop the iPad Mini 7, so that's the only thing that they released in October. Right, and it boasts its A17 chip, which of course is their latest processing chip. And more interestingly, they have now made it compatible with the Apple Pencil Pro. Now, for Apple users, let's make this clear. This is not any hate or anything, but I am more or less tired of Apple making things in such weird increments, because I believe they could have done this from the get-go, right? But the fact that they're doing it now, we give thanks for that, and we're just moving on. Additionally, apart from the A17 chip that is now in the Apple iPad Mini 7, they're also introducing what they're calling the Apple Intelligence. Now, simply put, that's AI. All right, and yes, it plays on the phone, Apple Intelligence AI. All right, but the fact of the matter is this: look, as I said, Apple is behind. All right, not only in the fact that they're staggering upgrades on their own equipment, but in terms of where technology is at for a lot of other companies and a lot of other devices, Apple is still behind. All right, AI has been in technology from from as early as 2012 for some devices, and Apple is still playing catch up in that regard. All right, but the only thing I'll respectfully give them is that they like to do things the Apple way. All right, and that's the only thing that really keeps them more or less afloat in that regard. Because, for one, and of course, this is just my general assumption when it comes to why they do the things the way they do the things, is that, simply put, because their ecosystem is so niche, right, they have a lot of control over a lot of things, and thus they can pick, choose, and refuse at any time. All right, but they also need to know, really and truly consider listening to their market. the people who they're selling to. All right. It's just one of those things that are necessary. All right. But that is that in terms of them releasing an item for October. In terms of announcements, as I was saying earlier, though, they have now released their fourth generation of their Apple Silicon M series chip. All right, so that's the Apple M4 2024. Makes sense. Their first one was in November of 2020 that they released that one. All right, that was the M series, of course, the first one, M1. All right, and they've now released the M4 chips or announced it, correction, in 2024. Reason why I say announced is that they're not available yet, especially at the time of this recording. I believe they would be available during the week of the first full week, or first and second full week of November 2024. Cool. Now, just to give a little rundown of the M4s that they have released, they've of course released the M4 Basic, as I'll call it, the M4 Pro, and of course the M4 Max. Now, in terms of spec details for each, the M4 Basic is a 10-core CPU with 4 performance and 6 efficiency cores and a 10-core GPU. Let me just break down the performance and efficiency story. Just a moment. Performance meaning, what it can do in terms of raw power. Efficiency just allows you to take a lighter task and do them, as the term suggests, in a more efficient manner. So if you're going to be exporting, it's more likely to use the performance cores first, then use the efficiency cores where necessary. And of course, as I said, they have a 10-core GPU. Now, I think if I'm supposed to compare it to anything, it would be, of course, AMD's APU, which, of course, does the same thing in terms of graphic and CPU power on one chip. But I still find the theory of the technology a little bit weird. But that's just me. Cool? Now, in terms of comparing the performance between then and now, call it that, it says, or they claim more accurately, that it's 1.8 times faster than an M1 in CPU performance and 2 times faster than the M1 in GPU performance. Additionally, when you're getting the M4, you can only go up to a max of 32 gigabytes, which of course, as I said, behind. Some base model processors for other competing companies actually can do, I think, 64 being their max. All right, but don't quote me on that officially. All right, now, in terms of the M4 Pro, we take a notch up from the 10-core CPU and GPU to now a 14-core CPU, 10 performance, and 4 efficiency, and now a 20-core GPU. Comparing it to the M1 Pro, all right, they're saying that it's 1.9 times faster than the M1 Pro, and 2 times in terms of CPU performance, and 2 times faster in terms of GPU performance versus the M4. Now, I don't know why they did that comparison like that, but it's just one of them things that would decide say too fast to compare. But anyways, M4 Pro in terms of utilization with RAM is up to 64 gigabytes of RAM. Cool. After that, of course, as I mentioned, they have the M4 Max as well. That takes a notch up now and is now boasting a 16-core CPU, all right, 12 performance and 4 efficiency, and a 40-core GPU. In terms of comparison with the M1 for CPU performance, or the M1 Max more specifically for CPU performance, they're saying that it boasts a 2.2 times faster performance than the M1 Max. In terms of CPU performance, they're comparing it to the M4, and rightfully, it does double the performance of a M4. Now, I find that strange that the M1 Pro and the M4 Pro and the M4 Max do the same amount of performance versus a M4 Basic. Quite strange, because I believe at least the Max would have maybe done like a 2.2 or 2.5. But they know what testing they do. I may not be so fortunate to actually do that test, but they am able to. Even if it's not the M4, I'm hoping to see actually better numbers than what they're actually posting. Because for one, rightfully so, in terms of anything tech related, I'm less likely to believe what the actual companies put out, because for one, their environments are a lot more controlled than the average user's environment. Right? They might have their nice air conditioned offices from here all the way to Kilimanjaro, or even in a situation where they have it under certain conditions that are not exactly um, true to the everyday use case. So there's that. All right. No, not to deny them the actual efforts put in, but I would prefer to wait on one of our actual tech reviewers who have more or less designed their space to sort of mimic our everyday use case. Right. So like a Linus Tech Tips, a J's 2 cents, those kind of people. You know. Um, of course, in terms of memory, the M4 Max goes up to 128 gigabytes in terms of RAM usage as well. Now, in terms of technology that they have announced, they have now announced their new iMac, their Mac Mini, and their MacBook Pro. Of course, as I mentioned, the the M4 chips are coming out within the next 2 weeks, right? And so, rightfully, they would be going into said devices. And of course, that's something that we're looking forward to seeing in terms of testing from the YouTubers who do this thing professionally. And so, you know, definitely get subscribed when we get to share the feedback of them. Or if you want to find them, as I said, they have Linus Tech Tips, you have J's 2 cents. Those guys definitely do it well. Alright, and those are persons I look up to and listen to on a day-to-day basis. Cool. Alright. Also, just to give a special mention to, let me see if I get this correct. He told me do camera roll. Okay, he told me do camera roll on TikTok. He does a good job of explaining the ins and outs of Apple's products, and he gives very good suggestions in terms of ones that he'd recommend versus ones he wouldn't recommend. All right, so that is more or less it for TechTober in terms of my favorite releases of TechTober this year. What I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break, and then we're going to talk about that particular local situation that everybody has been talking about. All right, stay tuned. You're probably liking the content that you're hearing or seeing so far. All right, and for that, I'm truly appreciative. So, if you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, just go ahead and give us a subscribe. All right, even share the content with somebody who you think it might benefit best. All right, and continue to enjoy the content. However, if you're looking to sponsor the content, all right, whether by some financial needs or otherwise, hit me up at bytesandbeatspodcasts@gmail.com. And then once we get that email, we'll go ahead and start the discussion from there. All right, and then we'll see what will happen. Once again, if you want to sponsor the channel, the email is on screen if you're on YouTube, or if you're listening, it's bytesandbeatspodcasts@gmail.com. Looking forward to see your email. All right, looking forward to seeing the support. All right, and let's get back to the show. All right, and we're back. I'm, of course, thankful for anybody who follows the small advert moment. And, of course, once we get that off the ground, we'll see how much more progress is made on this content in terms of the quality and even just, keeping up with the day-to-day functionalities of this whole thing. Moving on, however, to the NCB/Uber glitch. Now, for anybody who's wondering what happened, just to give a short understanding of things, the NCB/Uber glitch is a situation where persons were taking advantage of the glitch, where they could book a Uber ride and then the money would have more or less, instead of coming off of their account, be transferred back to their account. Now, on social media, we're seeing where persons are now being affected in the sense that NCB is now taking quote unquote back that which should have been paid to Uber, and Uber get them money. And so people are seeing a lien on their account, even up to 1.5 million, 1.5 million, sorry. But the strange thing about it is that it's more comical in the sense to people than serious. Now, whilst there is persons who have spoken about the seriousness of the matter, I don't believe at the time of this recording that NCB or Uber has stated anything in response to everybody's comments about how it was approached. And that, of course, is one thing that truly I'm concerned about, in the sense that, for one, NCB has the capability right out, or outright, sorry, to tell who and who had been manipulating the glitch. Now, realistically speaking, yes, we know we're all human and we all make mistakes and this and that. But as I said, persons rightfully knew that they were taking advantage of a glitch. And so when the situation reached them now that NCB is taking back their money, I believe at least NCB should have informed them that that is the situation. Right. And then, as one person even suggests, talk to them about a payment plan option for clear this. Right. Now, to be fair, I don't think that persons taking advantage of the glitch, if they just did it for squanderous, for squandering reasons, go party, buy clothes and this and that, utilize that glitch well. If it was a case where, for example, somebody utilized the glitch and, send themselves through school or start a business, then yeah, props to them in terms of using quote unquote the glitch to a positive means. Alright. But the fact of the matter is, if you just squandered it, then definitely not worth it. More importantly, though, which of course is the matter, people need to realize that this type of thing is a serious offense, not only criminal, but offense in the sense that it really and truly continues to devalue the country in terms of wanting to do business. All right, now we know the 2030 Project 2030 thing sort of they're on the ropes right now because a lot of persons are saying that don't look like that will happen. And if I recall properly, they did mention something about it not going to happen again because it doesn't seem feasible. All right, these are things we need to try and sort of stop from happening or lessen more or less. Because to be real, there always will be a glitch in some program or another, right? Or even some device or another that may cause it to get some unique benefit, right? But at the end of the day, we have to look at it realistically in terms of our economic standpoint. Because for one, at the end of the day, we have to take into account that it not only affects the now, but the future, right? A lot of things that I think happened in terms of anything doing with money from the NCB to the SSL situation, right? It's not taken as seriously as it should because in this day and age where digital footprint is a serious thing, persons aren't taking it serious, all right? And of course, I'm not talking just digital footprint in terms of finances now, but also in terms of social media and what they post and why they post and where they post and how they post, that kind of thing. All right, it really leaves a bad impression on the country, generally speaking. All right, now mind you, this is not going to be a long topic because, for one, I still don't have a lot of details to really go off of and say, yo, this be the case. All right, but as somebody who is in the tech space, right, and somebody who enjoys utilizing technology for what it is, right, we really and truly have to try to implore a bit more of, for one, digital literacy, right, and being better digital citizens, right, especially here, especially at UTech, correction, right. I know that they are trying to implore persons to be more better digital citizens, especially when it comes to utilizing AI and other things of that nature, especially when it comes to their assignments, right? And so that's a good place to start in the general sense, right? But I think that as well, in terms of trying to better the future, start with the younger persons in prep school, persons in high school, right? Start to educate them about it from now on, especially in the case of the younger ones where they will do and say the most random of things because them see it, right? And of course, yeah, you're going to say, oh, a person grew up seeing this and grew up seeing that. But of course, if they grow up seeing this and that, then it only makes sense that we make them see good things from now or from their younger age, correction, because, yeah, up there, right, from them younger age, and then from there, we just simply look to elevate them to continue to do better. However, as I said, there will always be glitches. There will always be things that seem to have some skew to them. And there will be persons who will take advantage of it. But let us try to definitely lessen it. Alright. And let us not make this a situation that happens again. Cool? Alright. As I mentioned, I believe this is not only for now, but for the future. Alright. And with what's happening in the economy these days, it don't make sense that we make it continue. Cool? Cool. Now, as I said, this is going to definitely be a short conversation because, as I said, not much information or clear information to say definitely this, that. Right, and this is more of an opinion piece in that regard. But nonetheless, I hope that you got something out of it. Some things you might even consider, as I said, digital literacy, right, especially for the younger ones, important, right, and being a better digital citizen, right. You're watching this on a phone, you're watching this on a computer, so even if you want to leave a comment and ask me what digital citizenship or digital literacy means, fine, you can do that, or you can Google it for yourself. Right, information is widely accessible. All right, so you don't have to wait on me. You can always do it yourself. Cool. Now, for now, this is the end of Bytes and Beats podcast episode 2. All right, hopefully next week, all being well, we can get to talk about Red Bull Culture Clash 2024. That's happening. Well, hopefully by this time, it would be going on because when I post it, it should be the next day, November 2nd. But I'm going to talk about that in terms of what happened and how it went down. And then I guess I'm going to try to see if I can involve some tech that I may have seen at the Culture Clash. All right. Or, we just simply find something that may have come up in the week nonetheless. All right. So until the next episode, thank you guys for listening and watching, depending on which platform you're on. All right. As I said, we're live on TikTok. We're live at Twitter at One Bytes and Beats podcast. All right. Would really appreciate it if you, follow the page, give us a subscribe, leave a comment down below, as I said earlier. All right. And let's continue to support the podcast. And of course, I've been your host, Nasaal. I don't think I said that in the intro of things. All right. But for those looking on YouTube, you would have seen my name come up. But for those listening, my name is Nasaal, and we are out.